Hi friends, I'm Victoria and welcome to my channel. Today is another bookish video, but this one is a little bit different. I am going to talk about why I do not read physical books often, very often. And I'm going to go through the reasons for this. I know some people think this is blasphemous and they're like, what's wrong with you? But for me, I have a few reasons why, and they are important to me and just kind of have outweighed my need for physical books. So I'm going to start from my least important to most important reason why I mostly read ebooks. And yeah, I'm gonna go into that. If you're interested in seeing any reading vlogs or TBRs or what I'm gonna be reading next, I have those videos up on my channel as well. And I am excited to get into this. This is something that I've wanted to talk about for a minute. I don't know that many people do talk about it all that much, and it might seem pretty insignificant to some people, but I know that whenever I bring this up in conversation, most people are like, what? What do you mean you never read physical books? And I wouldn't say never, but typically I don't. There are a few reasons for this, so please don't come at me just yet. Just hear me out, hear what I have to say. And of course, if you are someone that loves physical books, then that's amazing and that makes me really happy for you. I just have some reasons that it's not the best fit for me, and I'm gonna go into those. But I have a little notebook with all my reasons here. My least important reason is travel. So I do tend to go lots of places. This past year, we've been all over the place, and especially like with weddings, family stuff, vacations, have been traveling so much. And I feel like just even if you are going from place to place in your own town or in your own city, or going camping or anything like that, it's so much easier. It's just so much easier to have all my books on my iPad, or I do want to get a Kindle at some point, but like a Paperwhite. But I use an iPad mini now for most of my ebooks, or my phone. But I also just love that if I go somewhere, I don't have to bring a book with me. And that has improved how much I read so much, and it has really changed the game for me. And especially when you're traveling, it's like lugging around multiple books is not ideal. Oftentimes I'm traveling where I'm only bringing, a carry-on or a personal item, so I can't imagine sacrificing space for like clothes for a book. I'm sorry, I just can't. And just the fact that, I have multiple options in there, it makes all the difference for me. And that's a huge reason why I prefer ebooks. The second reason is reading faster. I find that with ebooks, I tend to finish things a little bit more quickly, and that is simply because whenever I need a book, it's there for me. I have it on my phone, it's in my hand, it's on the Kindle app or on Scribd or Libby, whatever, it's there. And then outside of that, if I am getting sleepy or I only have so much time before I have to do something, I can see how much time I have left in a chapter. So my dog just sneezed. But I can see how much time I have left in a chapter. So, if I have to do something in 30 minutes and I can see that the chapter is 15 minutes long, I'm like, oh, I can read another chapter. And with a physical book, that's something I would not do. I just wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't risk starting a new chapter just to be cut off when I had to go do my next task or appointment. So I absolutely love that aspect of it. I also love I can see, oh, I have 2 hours left in this book. I can schedule time in my day to knock that book out. And I check out so many books from Libby that I often have, I'm trying to read something by a certain timeline, and this helps so much. And I know I can like schedule certain books at certain times, and it just helps me read quicker, finish things in a timely manner, and get excited knowing, oh, I only have 2 hours left. I can finish this book tonight. Let's do it. That kind of thing. So I love that aspect of it. Also, in that ease of use category is annotations, highlighting, bookmarking. It's so easy to just highlight, and it's there. It doesn't distract me. I find a lot of times with physical books, I can get distracted if I'm trying to find a highlighter or write a note. And for some reason, when it's on the app, I can just like do that. It takes 2 seconds. I'm not distracted and I can jump back into reading, and that's huge for me. I also love that all your highlights are in one place. That's that's so nice and convenient. And you can also connect your Kindle app with Goodreads, and it'll save your quotes and highlighted quotes in there, which is super cool. I love that aspect. So, you know, I make it work for me more that way, and it helps me complete books, read faster, and get through all of the books on my list in a timely manner, especially books that I have checked out from the library. Now, the next reason is kind of silly, and some of you might not understand this, but I have a bit of a sensory issue when it comes to paper and cardboard or cardstock, anything like that. After a while, I hate the way that it makes my hands feel. Now, some of y'all are probably like, what's wrong with you? I know that this sounds weird. And unless it's something that you probably deal with, something similar, you won't understand it, and that's totally fine. I totally know this sounds so weird, but first off, I live in a dry climate. I live in Denver. It's so dry here. I'm already dry, but then flipping through papers and having my hands holding the book, it dries out my hands in a way that it makes me feel uncomfortable and like icky, and I can't deal with it. It's very strange. I know that sounds weird, but it is a thing that I deal with. And, you know, I don't have that issue when it comes to ebooks. So that's great. I mean, oftentimes when I would read physical books, I would just have to like set it down and then like hold my arms on it, because I'm like, I can't, after so long, I don't want to be touching it. I don't know. Now that's weird, and I know that's weird. So don't come at me, I know. Next up is probably pretty obvious for most people, and that is space. Now, I read a lot of books. I do. I read a ton. And I live in an apartment, and we have like this, 1,200 square foot apartment, whatever it is, I don't know. But it's already out of space. Like truly, I have so much crap. I don't know how it happens, but I have so much stuff. I just don't have space for storing that many books. And if I do, then they would just sit there, you know? So I just don't have the urge, unless it's items that I really love or want, to have a physical book and store it in my apartment. It's just not realistic. It wouldn't work out for me or for Drew. Now, Drew does read physical books, and I'm totally cool with him, you know, doing the physical book thing himself, and that's fine. But for me, I'm just like, I go through so many, there's no space in the world. I mean, well, yes, but definitely not in this apartment for that many books. Okay, next up is price. Now, as I said, I read a lot of books every month. I read, 15-ish, maybe more, maybe less, from month to month. It really just depends. And if I bought the physical books for each of those, I would be spending hundreds of dollars a month. And I think that's just silly, especially considering, I read a lot of them in one sitting. So I knock it out super fast, and then I just have it, and it's just there. And of course, there's donating, selling, all that stuff, but I just feel like there's a lot that goes into that, and a lot of effort. It takes extra effort to do those things, and when it comes to a physical book, and I just don't have the energy for it, I don't want to say it's a waste of money, because I'm sure for some people, like, that's what you want to spend your money on, and I totally agree with that. You do you. But just for me, I don't want to spend my money on books, especially since I go through them so quickly. I don't think it's very fiscally responsible of me. So it's just not something that I want to spend my money on every single month. Now that kind of ties into this next aspect, how much energy it takes for me to acquire a book and or offload it. This was the main reason why I started getting into ebooks, and that was Libby in the library. And having access to a full library on your phone or through an app is truly life-changing, and makes me so happy that we live in the day and age that we do. I mean, aside from like all the other social issues. But anyway, I don't have to get in my car, go to the library, spend time walking through the aisles trying to find what I'm looking for. Just the amount of time that would take, and then consequently reading them and taking them back and like doing the thing over and over again, that sounds awful to me. I don't know. Like, as someone who doesn't love going places, having appointments or times, and interacting with a ton of people, like, it's kind of hard for me to want to do that and to actively get out not turn things in late. And having access to a library on my phone has been life-changing. Yeah, I just cannot imagine me with all the books that I check out each month, because the majority of my books are from the library through Libby on my phone or iPad. So I just can't imagine me going back and forth and how demanding that is. And I feel like that would just turn me off from reading as much as I do. So that's a huge thing for me, and I can just, with a click of a button, or put something on hold, something that I want, once it's available, click of a button, I can read it right then, right there, and return it just as easily. And it's amazing. That's a huge reason for me to not read physical books, and has totally changed the game for me when it comes to reading. And I'm grateful for it, and I love ebooks because of it. So yeah. Next, in my final reason for not buying physical books very often, is waste. Now, I truly feel like in a lot of instances, physical books are incredibly wasteful, especially for the way that I read. Now, I know some people read huge books in series and sagas, and I don't typically read that way. I like one and done kind of novels and shorter novels that I can knock out quickly. Every now and again I do read a series, but it's rare. And I just cannot justify the waste of a book, a physical book, and what goes into making that, and me reading it and spending just a handful of hours reading it, and then it's not trash to me, but it's just like it has no use for me after that. So I think in the grand scheme of things, with waste, water, trees, assets, so many resources go into creating a book, shipping, all this stuff, I just don't want to contribute to that as much. And if I can avoid it, then great. And I know for some people, I'm not saying like you shouldn't read physical books. No, please, that's not what I'm saying. Please read physical books. If it brings you joy and makes you happy, go for it. We all have our things that we enjoy, spend our money on, and makes us happy. So do that, please. And if physical books is part of that, please do that. So, I totally understand. And I'm not trying to like talk down to anybody. No. Just for me, it outweighs, the pros of reading a physical book, especially because I have just so many cons for me, and things that don't work for me when it comes to physical books, and things that do work for me when it comes to ebooks. So that's just what I'm saying here. Please read your physical books. I think they look beautiful. When it comes to waste and reading physical books, I know a lot of you use the library, and there is no true waste exactly in what you're doing, in the same way like buying one-off books like off Amazon constantly is. And that's great too, and I definitely encourage that. It's just like the aspect of going to and fro from the library sounds horrible to me. Also with waste, I know some people are the type of people that reread their books. I am not that person. I'm just not. I very rarely reread books, and it's mostly like books that I might have read when I was a kid or in high school or something, and then I don't really remember, and I'm like, well, let me revisit that. But typically I do not reread, which might also be because most of my books that I read are horror or spooky or thriller, and once the twist has been untwisted, there's really no point in reading again. Like, you can't get that same effect again, and it would just be like a disappointing experience, you know what I mean? So that's another comment on waste, and there's a few layers to it in my mind. So, for me, I just don't think it's necessary, and I don't even enjoy the act of reading a physical book. I know for some people that's like, they have to. They're like, I have to read a physical book, and that's great. I wish that I enjoyed the experience of reading a physical book as much as the next person, but I just don't. And it's not for me, and that's totally fine. And I know for some people that's like their whole thing. They love having the physical book, the whole atmosphere of it, and carrying that book with them. Like, it means something to them, and it's just part of their lives. And for me, it's just not. So, that being said, I do have books that I've read that I would love to get the physical copy of. It's just not high on my priority list. And there are definitely, those instances where I'm like, this is the book or this is a book that I absolutely loved and is one of my favorites, then of course I might look into buying the physical book and having that on my shelves. Or like a series, of course, like Harry Potter or something like that. Like that's a whole other area. But that's what's so funny about reading is I feel like everyone has their own, you know, cadence when it comes to how they read books, what they enjoy. Some people have to like sit down in a cozy atmosphere, or some people like to read at a coffee shop, and you know, these different aspects when it comes to reading and everyone makes it their own, and I really love that. And for me, that just mostly includes ebooks. Yeah, that's all I have today, talking about this controversial opinion of not enjoying physical books. And you know, sometimes I will read a physical book, typically not. I don't think I've read a physical book in probably years, if I'm being honest. I have thought about signing up for like book of the month just to get like a couple of books in, because I usually end up reading those books, like some of the books that are part of book of the month anyway, and typically they are pretty good. The picks from book of the month are typically pretty great. I don't know, it's like something that I've thought about, and maybe eventually I will do, or like if we move and we get more space, maybe, but as of now, not on my priority list, so we'll see. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I know some of you are probably cringing so hard at this video, and I totally understand. I totally get it. And you know, I just hope that you read in a way that you enjoy and makes you happy. And you know, if it's audiobooks, if it's ebooks, if it's on your iPad or with a physical book, you know, any way works and any way counts. And I just want everyone to have fun reading. I think that, you know, I feel like we put so much emphasis and almost restrictions when it comes to reading and things you are supposed to do or things you're not supposed to do. And I'm just like, no, let's just let people live their lives and read in a way that they enjoy. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. But, and maybe that's just because now I'm 30 and can't be bothered by anything really that much anymore. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any like counter arguments or like preferences when it comes to reading physical books or ebooks or anything, please put them below. I would love to chat and like hear your thoughts and what you think about it as well. Because I know for some people, ebooks are a no-go. So please like and subscribe. That would help me so much. I am new to YouTube. I have reading vlogs, TBRs, wrap-ups, and I usually read around 15-ish books a month. And you know, that ebbs and flows every month, of course. Like last month I read 19, which was absolutely wild to me. But yes, please stay tuned. I typically read a lot of horror, spooky stuff, thriller, as well as some fantasies and general fiction, of course. But if you're into horror, spooky stuff, so many of my videos are going to be about that coming up, of course, because we're about to be in the Burr months. It's almost Halloween time and I cannot wait. So please stay tuned and subscribe, and I would love to see you back here in the future.